everyone, it's Sean. Thanks for listening to my previous All English episodes about Marvel. If you haven't listened to those, then go back and check them out. They were surprisingly popular, and it gave me a lot of encouragement and made me want to carry on doing some more All English episodes. So today I want to focus mainly on the UK education system, because quite often when we're doing podcasts with Sota, the topic comes up about the UK education system and how different it is to the Japanese education system or the American education system. So because it's come up quite a few times, I figured why not do an all English episode about it, and we can look at my experiences in my education life and experience the ups and downs together, and also maybe learn a few things about the education system at the same time. I've got a lot of friends, Japanese friends, who have been to the UK to study English, but that study system is a little bit different to the regular UK education system. So the stories and things that you might have heard from your friends about studying in England might be different to what you're going to hear on today's podcast. So this is from a native English speaker and someone who lived and grew up in England. So let's get into it with today's All English episode. So the topic for today is the UK education system. Now, there are a lot of things to explain, and I think the first thing that we should start with is the different types of schools in the UK. First of all, we have the state schools. Now, state schools are the government-funded education schools, and they are the ones that most people go to in the UK. There are various state schools, ones that have local authority in the kind of area that you live in. There are special academies that have their own special curriculums. There are some like grammar schools that are very kind of strict, and religion-based faith schools as well. But these are all government-funded, and they're called state schools. The part that gets a little bit confusing is that in the UK, we also have things called public schools. Now, this is where the confusion happened because of the word public. Even though they are called public schools, they're different because they are actually a part of the private sector. So they're not government funded, and people actually have to pay to go to those schools, and they have to follow something called the national curriculum. And the national curriculum is basically what all students in the UK have to follow for their education. And so the public schools, because people have to pay to go to public schools, they often have this, this image of having a higher academic excellent background or whatever. There are about 2,000, 3,000 private schools or public schools in the UK. So that's including Scotland, Wales, England, and Northern Ireland. But today we're mainly going to be focusing on the state schools because that's what I've experienced. So that's what I know more about. So let's start by looking at the school holidays. So we already know that we have these two different types of schools, state schools and public schools. But as far as I'm aware, they both follow similar holiday patterns. So in England, the school year usually starts in September and then it ends in June. So that's a little bit different to what we experience in Japan. And usually there are 3 terms. So you have the autumn term, which is from September, when the year starts, to December. That's the autumn term. Then we have the spring term, which is from January until about April, I think, or April or May. And then we have the summer term, which is from around April or May to July. So those are the terms of the time that we study. But then when we have the holidays, there's usually about a week break in the middle of each of those 3 terms. And that's what we call the half-term holiday. Half-term is HALFTERM. And during that holiday, it's only a week, so people don't usually go away anywhere. It's just a chance for them to relax a little bit at home. But then we have longer holidays during the winter holiday and during the Easter holiday. Both of those are about 3 weeks, so they're a little bit longer. That's when, people get ready for Christmas because of the winter holiday. Christmas is about spending time with the family, so getting the kids' presents and everything together. And then in Easter, obviously we have the Easter eggs and all the chocolate, and the families meet up together. So those 2 holidays are quite important, and they usually last about 3 weeks. So then the last holiday, which is in the summer holidays, and that is about 6 weeks. So in the summer holidays, kids get 6 weeks off, and this is usually when families go away for like big holidays and spend a lot of time together. So just to recap, we've got the autumn term, the spring term, and then the summer term. Then we have a week holiday in the middle of each of those terms. Then we have a 3-week holiday between each of those terms. And then we have a 6-week holiday in the summer. So I think that's a lot of time off compared to places like in Japan, where I think the holiday terms are a little bit shorter. So now if we have a look at the, what should we call these? The education brackets, I guess, because of how the school system is set up. Because in Japan we have, elementary school, junior high school, and I think it's more similar to the American system. But in England, it's a little bit different. So if we look at the first bracket, this is what we call primary school. Primary is Primary school, primary school. And primary school is focused on kids aged 4 to 11. So between the ages of 4 and 5, we have something called reception. And reception is basically just trying to get kids ready to start studying properly. So they're not really intense English classes or anything like that. It's just to get the kids to relax and get used to the atmosphere of being in school. And then from reception in the UK, it goes up in years. So we say year 1, year 2, year 3, and so on. So year 1 is ages 5 to 6. Year 2 is ages 6 to 7. Year 3 is ages 7 to 8. Year 4 is ages 8 to 9. Year 5 is ages 9 to 10. And then year 6 is ages 10 to 11. Then during year 6 is when we take the SATs, which stands for the Standard Assessment Tests. Standard, STANDARD, Assessment, ASSESSMENT tests. And the SATs are basically to give teachers an idea of what the strong areas of the students are, what the weak areas are, so that when they move up to secondary school, which is the next education step, they have an idea of what level they should be at for each of those subjects. So after primary school is when we move up to secondary school. This is our high school, basically. And secondary school is from ages 11 to 16. So continuing from primary school, where we had up to year 6, secondary school starts from year 7. So year 7 is ages 11 to 12, year 8 is ages 12 to 13, year 9 is ages 13 to 14, year 10 is ages 14 to 15, and then year 11 is ages 15 to 16. So I hope you've all got that. So basically from primary school, it's ages 4 to 11. And then secondary school is ages 11 to 16. And the year grades are primary school is year 1 to 6. And then secondary school is year 7 to 11. So if you're ever watching some British TV movie or TV drama or something that's set in the UK, and you hear one of the students say, well, I'm in year 9. Now you'll be able to say, okay, year 9, that is age 13 or 14, and you'll have a better idea. So this is very different to the American system, where I think they use grades. Like they say, oh, I'm in the 2nd grade. And that always confused me as a British kid, because I didn't understand the grade system. Because in the UK, we've got this year system. So now when you hear these years being mentioned in TV shows or movies, you might have a better idea of what they're talking about and how old they might be. So in secondary school, the main focus is on something called the Gcses. This is the General Certificate of Secondary Education. General Certificate of Secondary Education. And this is when kids start to realize what subjects they should be focusing on. Because in secondary school, in year 7 and year 8, this is kind of just getting them used to secondary school and getting used to the new system. And then in year 9 is when students have to choose specifically which subjects they want to focus on with their GCSEs. And then eventually in year 11, so when they're 15 or 16, they take the GCSE exams, and this is what will decide their further education and what will happen after secondary school. So now that we've learned about primary school and secondary school, I figured I might as well tell you guys a little bit about my experience from both of these schools. Primary school for me was quite interesting because when I was growing up, I moved around a lot. So it's kind of difficult for me to remember exactly where I was at those ages, but I think I spent maybe year 1 and year 2 when I lived in Wales. So I was about 5 years old, 6 years old. Then I moved to Yorkshire, which is in the north of England, and I think I spent about 3 or 4 years there. So that would be year 3 and then year 4. And then after that, I moved to the Midlands, just outside of Birmingham, into Tamworth. And I think that was year 5. So I would have been about 9 or 10. That sounds about right. So my primary school years were a little bit of a blur. It's difficult for me to remember exactly where I was and what I was studying because I was moving around so much. But after I'd moved to the Midlands and kind of settled down, I realized, okay, I'm not going to be moving anymore. I think I always found it easy to make friends as a kid. So primary school wasn't that bad for me, even though I was moving around a lot. It just meant that I had more of an opportunity to make more friends, which is great, right? It's a positive. I mean, I made friends in year 5 and year 6, so when I was like 9 or 10, that I still talk to today. Like, they have become my lifelong friends, which is great. And even though I'm in Japan now, I still talk to some of my primary school friends, which is awesome. And yeah, I remember not being too stressed out about the SATs, the standard assessment tests. I had confidence in most of my abilities because my teachers always praised me and said how diligent I was and how hardworking I was. Diligent D-I-L-I-G-E-N-T. Sota has actually said this about me a few times. He says that I'm very diligent. So my teachers picked up on the same thing and said that I was going to be doing pretty well. And yeah, sure enough, I did really well on my SAT scores, which meant that I could go to a very nice secondary school for year 7. So when I moved up to secondary school, again, because secondary school, you've got kids from all different primary schools coming together, it's another chance to make new friends. You know, you can ask them, oh, which primary school did you go to? Which primary school did you go to? And then all of these primary school kids are kind of coming together. So you have another chance to make even more friends. And same again, you know, I found it very easy to make friends in secondary school. And even some of those friends I would consider some of my best friends that I still talk to today. You know, lifelong friends from secondary school. And I remember through year 7 and 8, I kind of kept my head down and just focused on my studies. I didn't do anything crazy, so I never got into trouble. I never got detention. I never got any kind of bad things on my report card or anything like that. So I was kind of a good kid in school. And I think that, again, helped kind of shape who I am today. So when we look back at our primary school years and high school years, I think it's very easy to see how we got to the point of where we are today. So let's wrap up there. I think that's a good place to stop for now. We've talked about primary school and secondary school. So in the next episode, I guess we could talk more about further education and then perhaps universities and then beyond that. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please let me know on Instagram. Tell me about anything that you learnt that you didn't know before. And yeah, let me know if it's been useful for you. You can follow the official Daihon Nashi podcast Instagram, which is podcast_listening. Or you can follow my personal Instagram, which is Sean Bradley 1986, SeanBradley 1986, and you can let me know on there if you want to about this episode and what you've learned as well. So see you guys next time. Bye bye.